Today I'm joined by Jon Richardson, my video editor of the past couple of years. I wanted to have Jon on the show today to share his experience of becoming a video editor with you so that if you're interested in getting into this field, maybe becoming a freelance editor, or even possibly working for a client full time, you can learn exactly what it takes, how to get the skills you need, how to attract those first clients, and how to grow far beyond that. So with that being said, here is Jon Richardson. Hey, Jon, welcome to the show.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
So to start out, tell us the short version of the big picture story of how you became a video editor. And then after you do that, we'll get into the nitty gritty of exactly how you got the skills and how you got your first clients and how you grew beyond that.
Totally. So there's video editing as far as my passions, and there's video editing as far as money coming. And the money came later. But I've been video editing since I was a kid. I actually grew up as a missionary kid in Kenya, East Africa. And we had to find ways to occupy our time. And so the other kids would be like playing sports and like doing all this stuff outside. I found my way to my dad's camcorder, and me and a bunch of friends started videotaping and like making ridiculous videos. My favorite part was acting, but then right after that was video editing, where I would throw it onto my big chunky Mac and like edit it down. And I just realized like at the time that I really loved doing video editing and that I was good at it. And I guess I kind of like put it in the back of my brain for a while. Fast forward like, 15 years. And my wife is making more money than me while I'm working a 9-to-5. And she's doing it online, freelance, doing voiceover work. And I'm blown away by this. And it kind of got my gears going on what's something that I could do the same kind of things that I saw being successful for her. And that's where I started being interested in video editing. This was about 3 years ago. And I got on Upwork, I got on Fiverr. We can talk more about that in a minute. But long story short, I found myself a few really good, steady, regular clients and found that I was able to make a living doing it.
And how long have you been working as a video editor now?
I would say 3 years. It's been my bread and butter main gig. But for about 5 years before that, I had a little bit of work here and there where I would make a little bit of money getting to do some editing.
Yeah. So it seems like, as with most freelance type jobs, or also this would apply to businesses too, in order to be able to make a living at something, first of all, you need to have the skills, or with other types of businesses, it might be like you need to have the product, you need to have something to sell. And then the other thing you need to have is someone to sell it to. You need to have those clients in your case. So let's talk about the skills first. You talked about video editing as a kid, and it sounds like you're probably fairly self-taught. What else did you do to get the skills you needed in order to be able to deliver the service to the customers?
Absolutely. So you're right. I'm very self-taught. Like I said, acting is my number one passion. I went to school for acting, but obviously there's a lot of crossover between acting and production. So I found myself just throughout my life working those skills, offering my time for videos for school, for promotional projects for people, fundraisers, all kinds of different things. For me, the place I've learned it all is online. I mean, I've taken tons of different classes online. YouTube has been my best friend. And I think it's been a combination of picking up skills from other people online, and then just a lot of intuitive sensibilities, I guess, that I have.
So to be clear, there was no formal education. You don't have a degree in video editing.
No, I don't. I don't have a degree in video editing, self-taught and online. I've never taken a formal in-person class on it.
So 2 questions along with that. One, do you feel like not having a degree has been a significant hindrance to getting clients? And then second, how much have clients paid you, maybe per hour or per project on average, or what are they paying you now that you've worked up to this point, even though you don't have an education, a formal education?
So I am currently, I've worked my way up, like you said, and about $45 an hour now is what I'm making on average. And as far as whether it's been a hindrance or not, I was surprised. It hasn't. I mean, I rarely have been asked about my formal education in this area. Essentially, it's a case-by-case basis where I'm able to show my skills to the clients. And if they like what I can do, there aren't really many more questions asked about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And on the client side, that's always been my perspective as well. Whenever I've been hiring a video editor or many other types of freelancers as well, I only cared about the results the person could create. And so with the case of a video editor, how well could they edit videos? And I didn't care at all whether they had a degree. If they couldn't edit videos, then I didn't want to hire them. And if they could do a good job, then I was very interested. We talked about how you got the skills. What would be your best advice, perhaps, to someone who is interested in becoming a video editor, but they don't have the skills yet? What should they do first? And what would that journey look like for them if they didn't have, this whole lifelong journey of being self-taught the way you did?
So I'm assuming if they want to get into this, then they have the passion for it first, which is fantastic. So if they have the passion for it, then I would assume that they would be okay with, and I would encourage them to do some free stuff, to do some free projects, some passion projects, anything for friends, family. That's really where I kind of zoned in on my skills, was just doing a lot of videos for family and friends, and doing it for the experience, and then B, for the joy of it. And then I would also say, because what you're going to do slowly is start to build up your ability to have a demo of your work that you can later show to clients. So it's important for all of those reasons that I think, to begin with, it's realistic and helpful to do some free gigs.
Yeah, for sure. And that obviously relates to what I was talking about, where I want to hire someone if I see that they have the skills that I want. And the only way you can really show someone that is if you've done some example work or some demo projects or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I'll give you an example. My wedding video editing, which has been a large portion of what I've done, the reason I got that was because the director saw my video that I had done for my granddad. It was a tribute video for him. And he saw that video on my website, and it didn't matter at all who it was for, that it was for a family member. He just saw good editing, and he saw that I had emotional intelligence, that I knew how to craft a video to music, and it hit all the notes for him to want to hire me doing videos for him for weddings.
So you need to get the skills, and then you need to demonstrate your skills.
Yes, exactly.
It sounds so obvious the way you're explaining, and yet I know that this runs contrary to some advice that is sometimes given and a way that people often feel, which is, I don't want to work for free. My skills are worth something, and so I don't want to do something for someone for free. But clearly there is a strategic reason for this, and a reason why this is a really smart move. And you have to think just a little bit longer term than the short term of, I want to be paid for the work I'm doing right now.
Yeah. And also the thing is, you may not have many skills to begin with. And so you do have to have skills to be making money off of them. So I do think the free work falls into that realm where you still are developing your skills.
For sure. Yeah, I really couldn't agree more. I think that's great advice. Okay, so that was all about, the skills, how to get them, how to demonstrate them. And that's leading into the other half of the equation, which is, how do you get the clients? You have the product, but you need to have someone who wants the product. So tell me more about how you got your first clients.
Okay, first clients. That would be Fiverr, honestly. Fiverr.com, which, people have all sorts of opinions about Fiverr, which I understand. I've seen all the good, the bad, and the ugly.
It's very controversial these days.
It's very controversial. But it got me started. It got my wife started in voiceover, and we wouldn't be where we are without Fiverr. I think the issue is when you stay with Fiverr a little past where it's time to move on. That's my personal opinion.
So it's kind of like, there are friends for a season, friends for a reason, and friends for forever, or something like that. Like Fiverr is a friend for a season, but it's not a forever friend.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, no, exactly. I would say Fiverr's right after the free work. To get into the nuts and bolts a little bit, what I did to begin with was I made a demo video, a 1 minute video, because that's what you have to put on Fiverr. And to be honest, most of the footage in that demo was not my footage. It wasn't even projects I had worked on. I scrambled together a bunch of royalty-free video that I found online. And I just showed that I could cut to a beat, that I could, convey the points and the emotions to what I was saying. I put a voiceover on top of it, and I basically just put that up there. And it had a few little clips from stuff I had done in the past. So for a newcomer, it would be probably the free work. And I put it up and I was surprised. I mean, within a few days, I was getting a handful of people who were interested in me doing some videos for them.
What year was that, or how long ago was that you got started on Fiverr?
I started in 2018. From there, I stayed for a little while, and then I moved to Upwork. I was kind of doing both for a little bit, and Upwork is similar to Fiverr, but I would say it's definitely a more professional atmosphere, and it has more potential to have long-term clients from a video editing perspective.
There's a different kind of like client demographic there, right?
Absolutely. It has a better reputation for sure, also of treating the people who work on the platform a little bit better. You're a little bit less at the mercy of your clients as you are on Fiverr. So Upwork was the next stage for me. And then eventually Upwork kind of led to being off platforms and being able to just have a handful of clients that I keep contact with on my own. And we got into a consistent schedule. And that was the third phase, I guess.
Yeah. So eventually you found enough clients that wanted to continue working long term with you that you didn't need to rely on the new leads coming from the platforms anymore. And I imagine you probably started getting some referrals as well from those ongoing clients.
Yes, I did. Yeah, which helps a ton. In fact, the way I have gotten new clients for the last year and a half has been word of mouth, and just I'll get an email and somebody will say, "Hey, I've seen your services and wanted to reach out to you and see if you're available to do this." And so that's been such a gift to not have to keep, throwing myself out there on these other platforms, as great as they are.
Yeah. And, you were so smart about how you approached getting these clients and how you used different strategies for different kind of phases of your journey. So starting out with Fiverr and not just immediately trying to start with, say, word of mouth because, that's the best way to get clients. But instead, you just started with something that would work immediately and worked your way up using different strategies as you grew. And so I know that now you're actually going into a new phase, something that is a little bit bittersweet, maybe a lot bittersweet, as you are actually moving into a full-time employment position now. Tell me a little bit about that shift that's happening now.
Yeah, you're right. It is bittersweet. I'm having to say goodbye to you and a lot of other amazing clients. But yeah, I got a client who had been freelance for a while locally. They're an advertising production company. And they had me doing a little bit of work remotely, just like any of my other clients. And I did about 4 projects for them, and then saw that they were hiring a full-time assistant editor position. And as soon as I saw that go up, I was like, okay, I need to send my stuff into them. And quite a few interviews later, I'm really excited, and I'm going to be on board with them. And you're right, it's going to be a whole new chapter.
Yeah. And so it just kind of along the same lines, right? Of using different strategies at different times. First starting with Fiverr, then Upwork, then word of mouth, and finally landing this full-time gig. And so you've used different strategies as you've grown and for whatever kind of season you were in with your career.
That's right. Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day and just realizing that all of these different steps have been steps. If I hadn't been on Fiverr, I wouldn't be getting this gig with Gooder. It's all been where I just kind of saw the next thing, what was the next right thing. And it has been a lot of different strategies.
Yeah, and I'll just reiterate here that now you're getting this full-time job as a video editor still without having a degree in video editing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So you're leaving the freelance world, at least for now. So tell me a little bit about what you see as some of the pros and the cons of freelance and why you're making this move that you're making at this point.
I'll start with the pros, especially coming from a 9 to 5 kind of job before this. And then before that, I was waiting tables a lot. Essentially, I've been doing a lot of jobs that I'm not passionate about. So the biggest thing was when, oh my gosh, I'm making money doing something that I actually enjoy. Like I sit down, I enjoy this. It was it's still exhilarating, but I remember right at first, just actually getting even just a little bit of money through Fiverr doing it was so exciting. So that's number one. I mean, it's something I'm passionate about, and freelance work offers you the ability to hone in on what you're interested in and see what you can do with it. I would say the next really cool thing is being my own boss. I have clients, but they aren't my boss. We work together. And I think that's really liberating in a lot of ways. I'm not like anti-boss, but there's some pros to being able to set your own schedule, your own hours, to know kind of the ins and outs of what you do and to manage yourself. And I've loved that.
That's a pro and a con, right? Because there are benefits to having a boss, right? Because then you don't have to be as self-motivated or make as many decisions yourself, for sure. Like it's easier to have a boss, but there are new opportunities, right, with being your own boss where you have more control over, things like your schedule and all sorts of other things.
100%. Yeah, which would lead me kind of into a con, which is the up and down emotional turmoil of what it's like to do freelance work. Not to be overly dramatic, but it's like that has gotten better through time for me because I have gotten some regular clients. I've even gotten, working with you, we have certain days of the week that I do the editing, and I've been able to do that with other clients as well. But to begin with, to just sort of have these okay, I'll get on Fiverr on Monday and just see what's been thrown at me. And these are typically new clients every week, just new people. Hey, I got this video, this whatever birthday party event that I want you to edit for my company or something like that. And it's hard to not know what to expect each week and to not know how much money you're going to make. And you do have to find a way to kind of ride those ups and downs. And I think it takes a certain type of personality to be able to, like you said, not have a boss and be comfortable with that.
Yeah. So what I don't want people to walk away from this interview believing or thinking is that there are just these like black and white pros and cons of doing freelance or working for a boss, and that if you're self-directed and you don't mind the instability, then you can do freelance. But if you need stability and you need more direction, then you have to work a 9 to 5 for a boss, right? Because I think that there are so many like mixes and matches and flavors in between there that there are lots of out of the box options. For example, you could stabilize your income more by creating some sort of passive income or selling some sort of product, or having multiple clients that have retainers each month. Just as an example, right? There are ways to mix and match and come up with the best solution for you, for your personality, for where you are right now and what you need.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And I also think you're a great demonstration of finding the consistency. I don't think everyone's life who is working freelance is all over the place. For me, I would say it was the first year to year and a half. And I think that for people who maybe want to avoid a little bit of those ups and downs, it might be better to have not left behind the 9 to 5 or left behind the steady money maker, which is something that I did do. I left it. All right, I'm going to do this. And in retrospect, I think I could have stuck it out at a job, and I would have still had time to do this other work. And I think the transition could have been smoother. I do think it's a little bit hard to skip through the wobbly first season of doing freelance. I think it's unrealistic that it's going to just snap and be consistent right away. But I do think you're right. There's no polarity here where somebody who needs regularity should avoid freelance at all costs. I don't think that's true at all for anyone who's successfully working their life through freelance.
Yeah, it's not black and white. And it's also definitely not one is good and one is bad.
Mm-mm.
Something that is similar about both of our journeys with working for ourselves, I think, is that, like you were talking about, how maybe it would have been better for you to have stuck with your 9 to 5 and just done maybe video editing evenings and weekends for a while. And that might be good advice for someone else, right? But neither of us did that much. Like, we both quit our jobs fairly early on and started working for ourselves. But the thing that made that work all right was that both of our spouses were working, right?
That's it.
My husband wasn't earning very much at his job, but it created that little bit of stability I needed to where I wasn't on an extreme emotional roller coaster, because I knew that we would get by if my business did not do well one month. It's good to have some sort of source of stable income in your life, even if it's a small amount, whether that is keeping your 9 to 5 or just reducing the hours of your 9 to 5, or maybe your spouse is working full-time or part-time, or building up some sort of stream of passive income, or even getting your first few clients before quitting your job. Just, we need to kind of like layer the transition, overlap things as you make that transition.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So, Jon, it's been so interesting to hear your story and how you got started. What are your biggest tips, or just anything you would like to leave the listeners who are interested in getting started as a video editor? What's your best piece of advice for them?
I would say, if you're interested in video editing and making money doing it, I think it's more possible than people tend to think. I think there's just so much content these days. And what I really needed to know at the beginning was the reassurance that you can do this and you can make money doing this if you have the skill set. So, I would just encourage everyone to go for it. And also to not be afraid to kind of start slowly and experimentally. I think sometimes that can take away some of the fear. And if you have the opportunity to make a video, to make a demo video out of, like I said, royalty-free video, and put it up on Fiverr and just see what happens. Just see if people are interested in what you're doing. Other than that, I would just say definitely to just continue doing it in any way you can. Like we said earlier, any opportunities that are around you, to do them, and to also just know that it takes time and patience, but that it really does pay off. I've really enjoyed these last few years, and I just think it's very possible, and people should do it.
So good. And what you just said there reminds me of, I made a video a couple years ago about how to find good opportunities. And something that the main premise of this video was that you need to take advantage of the opportunities that you have now if you want more, bigger, better opportunities to come in the future. If you're just waiting for that big opportunity to come one day, for your ship to come in, it's never going to happen. But if you start taking advantage of the small opportunities you have today, then eventually you'll work your way up. And that sounds like exactly what you're saying here. Yes. Yeah, that is what I'm saying. And it's so cool to see how taking just the small next step can lead and open up doors that you didn't expect before. Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Jon. This has been great. Thank you so much for your time and everything that you shared with us today.
Thank you, Gillian.